That's our number one priority. We give value to our stakeholders. And you cannot do that. This is also an output KPI. You can only do it by if you just every single day do better job on pure e-commerce. A customer wants a product, good quality, right price, delivered to the customer without too much hassle is the basic job. And we are trying every single day to tighten our nuts and bolts that we do it. Growth will come automatically. If growth comes, we'll become profitable automatically.
Good morning, everyone. Vinod, it's a pleasure to have you here. We are here at the Tech Safari Summit in Nairobi, and we're just gonna talk about market expansion. And who better than Jumia can talk to us about market expansion? But before that, as an icebreaker, let's start with Vinod. You have a career. I want to know what are the different steps that led you to Jumia, CEO of Jumia East Africa, and what you learned along the way. And then we can deep dive on some of the topics.
Okay, perfect. Yannick, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. So basically, I started my career as a software engineer. I did not know that in the end, I'll be using some of my software skills later on and much later on. And after software engineer, I went for my business school and worked in a completely different industry, in building materials industry. I think the good part was I was working in a different part of the world. So I was working in France, in Malaysia, Singapore, back to France, India, and then Kenya and Uganda. I think also in my career, I was given an opportunity to do different things. So I started with strategy, corporate finance, mergers and acquisition, which really gave me a very high level strategic view. And then I went into the deep finance and internal audit kind of topics, which helped me appreciate the beauty of the details. So very macro strategy view and then really detailed. I also got the chance to work in commercial and distribution. I think very, very important for your career to understand that part if you're able to sell and distribute the products. And then lastly, I was in the digital supply chain building in that company. And I think that was the bridge with Jumia. When you put digital supply chain together and you have a retail experience, you become an asset for Jumia. And I think that's what happened 5 years back. And actually, I joined Jumia as managing the fulfillment operations for the group based in Nairobi, but traveling everywhere. And then I was given Uganda to manage, CEO of Uganda for a year and a half, and then CEO of East Africa.
That's actually an amazing career. First question, what did you learn about Africa that you really didn't know before working for Jumia, specifically about African markets, how similar they can be and how different they can be?
I think I had a bit of an idea, but the biggest piece was the access. So sometimes when people come from outside, including myself, we might have a myopia of what I like as a consumer. And you need to completely detach yourself. You need to even detach yourself from your network because it can be blinding, because that may not be the market. That's probably 0.01% of the population. I kind of knew it, but I really had to work hard to completely detach myself as a consumer because we were building for the masses. And I think that was my biggest learning. And the faster you understand and execute it, super important.
This is amazing and brings us to the topic. How many markets do you have here in East Africa? In Jumia?
East Africa, only 2 markets right now, Uganda and Kenya.
Amazing. And what are the differences between Uganda and Kenya? And if you can share maybe like an anecdote or a story that can tell us why, even though, next door, they can be really different.
Look, there are a lot of similarities, actually glaring similarities in terms of consumer behavior because principally consumers are similar. Everybody wants value. Mm-hmm. And again, it is not looking for price sensitive, they are value sensitive. If you want to sell goods which are slightly pricey but still brings value, everywhere loves them. The most glaring difference between the two is the penetration of, let's say, mobile money. I think the penetration wise, they're not very far. But whenever you use mobile money in Uganda, they will ask for the withdrawal charges, and that kind becomes a barrier. And hence, because of the charges, the cost of moving money in Uganda is 3 times than in Kenya, and simply people do not want to pay 1.52% of the transaction. So that's the biggest difference, and it impacts the business, the way you do business.
Digital payments are the backbone of e-commerce. How Jumia East Africa is managing payments? Maybe just give us an overview of what you've seen so far and what you plan on doing moving forward.
Yeah. So payment, as you say, is one of the biggest pillar of the transaction. You have the information, physical goods, and payments. The three things which you exchange when you do shopping. That's it. Payments, most important probably, because you can send the goods, but you do not receive the money. What is the point? So not only East Africa, the concept of Jumia has been across all the 9 markets is that you integrate with the most local possible widest solution. So if you go to West Africa, you go to Senegal, Wave. If you go to Uganda, MTN, Airtel. I'm talking about only mobile money, which is kind of the lion's share on the continent. But we, of course, accept any kinds of cards and everything, even though the penetration is very low. Until 2 years back, we were accepting even hard cash. So you could order things, cash on delivery, give the notes, and we'll make it happen. We'll bring it back into our bank account. In the last 2 years, we have stopped it simply because mobile money is pretty good. So the theory is integrate with every local possible payment channel you have in the market, and that's what we do.
And it's very interesting here because if you want to target for the most local options, you might find yourself with a lot of providers because it's not that unified and integrated across the continent. So how do you manage that challenge, that operational complexity of having to branch in and integrate with different providers?
Yeah, look, luckily and unluckily, we do not have a lot of cross-border shopping. So we do not have Ugandans shopping on Kenyan marketplace. They're gonna shop on Jumia Uganda marketplace, right? So then Uganda has to integrate with the local 2-3 biggest players, and these local biggest players will have 95%, and that's what we do. So in every market we are integrated with the biggest 2-3, and you cover almost always 95. So it looks scattered when you zoom out on the continent, but each country has 2-3 big players, and once you integrate them, I think you're done.
Amazing. Maybe let me just transition to another question because we often talk about, so we've seen the tale of e-commerce in the continent for the past 10 years. It has not always been a fairy tale, okay? We've seen that one of the challenges was with price-aware consumers, but most of it with physical infrastructure lacking most of the times, a pure e-commerce play was finding it difficult to really penetrate. You sometimes had to invest in some type of infrastructure, be it agents on the ground, be it more on the fulfillment side, etc., etc. I'm curious to know from Jumia, for your experience, because you were a fulfillment, okay, perfect. So before CEO of Jumia East Africa, you were working on fulfillments for Jumia Africa. What type of infrastructure has Jumia developed to fill that gap?
Yeah. So very important. The number will vary from country to country, but largely, safely, you can say that 40% people are off-grid. Either they won't have a smartphone or they won't have access to the data, or a mix of two, or even if you have the access for the data, is going to be using for the most important things, not for shopping online, right? So we have around 40% people whom we find off-grid. And the first thing is that you need to connect with them. And that is where Jumia built something called J-Force, Jumia Force. And it is present in every country, that model. And it happens only in our context. If you go to Southeast Asia, you go to Indonesia, go to any other market, e-commerce is pure play e-commerce. You come online and you buy. What we do here is to bridge that gap because our share of population is way too much to ignore that. And we literally have J-Force who goes to you. They will find you on the street or in office or in church somewhere. And they say, Yannick, I think your shoes are gone. Time to buy new ones. Okay. And they will show you the deals and everything. And the very important part is they will place the order for you, because the biggest problem is not the smartphone and the data, is the courage to place online because of all these problems and trust issues. So guy places the order for you. then everything starts online and the item will be delivered to you. So that infrastructure we built, and I think we are quite proud of it that we have it, and it gives us a complete an edge. Then definitely we also have to reach the market, which is not something new. It happens everywhere. Even in Europe, you will have the pickup stations. So yes, we try to reach every town. Now, of course, as you are growing, you go to smaller and smaller towns. 2 years back, we were opening pickup station in a town which has more than 100,000 population. And we said, okay, below that doesn't make sense. But we find out, no, it makes sense. And now we have started to go even to the town who have only 30,000 in the last 2 years. And hence we have grown from 150 pickup stations in Kenya to 270. So almost, doubling in a year and a half. And that's the network you have to build. But you can also build it smartly. You don't have to put CapEx. You don't have to own the assets. You have partners. People are talented, dynamic. We have lots of interesting partners who want to grow with e-commerce, and they are growing very well. And they do the investment. They work it out. As long as we take care of that, we are not opportunistic.
Yeah.
And we take care of their P&L, it works out.
I'm very curious to deep dive on this. We're talking about the ecosystem now, right? So you don't have to build everything yourself. You have partners in the local ecosystem that will help you for delivery, and the J-Force, I imagine, like basically people just reaching out to potential customers. When did you join Jumia? Was it like
5 years back?
5 years back. Okay. I'm curious to know from you, what has been the change when we talk about e-commerce ecosystem 5 years, in 5 years, during the last 5 years? What do you see happening in the market when it comes to partners that you can potentially, scout and work with a mutually beneficial relationship?
So especially about ecosystem.
Yes.
Okay. In the last 5 years,
Yes.
right? So I think that is when Jumia is growing, it's not only growing in terms of numbers and its own staff. I think what is very important to really see the evolution, it's 100% organic. Every single transporter we have was either a rider, a driver, or the person who had only 2 bikes, and he was delivering goods in 1 kilometer radius. And today, these guys might be operating with 20 trucks and 40 boda bodas. Another half were employees who saw the opportunity. Hey, this is how Jumia does the sorting. I can open a hub for them in Mombasa, and instead of being an employee, I can have my own business. Almost 100% of our partners are actually grown out of Jumia's initial ecosystem. And that really helps us because they know Jumia's structure, good and bad both. They understand the weaknesses, and hence they are able to support us. And
Yes.
they're also very dynamic. So I think that's very, very important, and we really appreciate it. In terms of the staff as well, it is the same case. We have a lot of people working and moving upwards in their journey, also leaving, getting more experience, coming back, etc. So I think ecosystem is very, very tightly knit. And that's what we have seen in the 4-5 years.
Is the presence of an existing thriving ecosystem in another market one of the factors you take into consideration when considering whether expanding to that market versus having to build everything from the ground up?
Absolutely. We are actually, continuously portfolio management. You want try to expand your business within the country. Let's say when we opened a pickup station in Lamu, we did not wanted to find somebody from the Lamu because there was non-existent. And we just have to go to one of our partners and say, hey, can you help us access Lamu, right? So most of and we went from, we have probably in logistics, if you say, we have really maybe 15, 20 partners. And they help us go anywhere across the country. That doesn't mean that we do not entertain new partners. They also welcome. And then they help us grow really fast, really affordable way, because they understand this is Jumia's margin. It's a retail business, it's cutthroat. So if I spend 2 shilling extra on this package, I'm going to be out. And I think this is super, super important for partners and us to understand.
This is very interesting because it transitions well into this next question, because one of the themes of the Tech Safari Summit is market expansion. And ideally, when we talk about market expansion, we talk about profitable market expansion, And Jumia has exited several markets in Africa. So who better than you or Jumia to tell us what can go wrong when you expand into several markets all at once, and what are the main keys to consider when you want to do it profitably?
Yeah. So look, portfolio management, whether you close a market or you open a market, is not only dependent on market. It also depends on the focus you want to. So you want to do, right? So the markets and the other businesses which we closed is not because we could not manage them. It's just that at that time we decided, okay, it's not the focus right now, and we can win this market in 2 years maybe. It's taking a bit longer because of the macro or the internal issues or just pure FX or one flood, can completely change the game, and it adds 2 years in the profitability equation. What is more important here is that, do we have those 2 years? Do our investors and stakeholders are ready to wait for that, or we have a shorter time period to deliver and to keep safeguard the company, right? So I think the portfolio management is a complex decision. It's not taken lightly. It's not taken overnight. They're very, very complex because there are people, stakeholders, ecosystem attached. And whenever it is done, there are thousands of factors behind it. And sometimes, but the biggest factors is, yes, there's the market macros, but also the focus you want to build on the business. And I think the recent changes were largely driven to focus. We said, okay, this is our focus. We want to make this business work in these markets. Once we are done, we are cash rich, then we're gonna go back and continue.
So do you still want to be the number one e-commerce company in Africa and eventually expand into every market? Is this still part of kind of like Jumia ambition?
Well, I don't know how would we want to be number one. Probably we are, but but that's not the KPI. The KPI, we have much bigger challenges. We are working very sharply towards profitability, as you say. It's been more than a decade. It's time. I mean, every e-commerce company on the planet has taken a decade. In our context, it's taking a little bit more. So we are razor sharp on that one, that we become profitable. And the way to do it, we have done a lot of optimization on the cost. I think the simple biggest thing we are doing right now is to grow. And this is what is happening right now. If you see our Q2 results recently done, you can see a double-digit growth across in dollars. Very difficult to convert all your country's local currencies and show a growth in dollars. And this is what we continuously want to do in the next quarters. And once we do it, we are not far. And our target is next year and last quarter of next year or the first quarter of 27. That's our number one priority. We give value to our stakeholders, and you cannot do that. This is also an output KPI. You can only do it by if you just every single day do better job on pure e-commerce. A customer wants a product, good quality, right price, delivered to the customer without too much hassle is the basic job. And we are trying every single day to tighten our nuts and bolts that we do it. Growth will come automatically. If growth comes, we'll become profitable automatically. Number one is something we don't have to write and think about it.
So the market opportunity is still there. Considering when Jumia started, are the tailwinds behind the e-commerce potential in the continent still there?
It's I think it is now there. Instead of saying still there, the tailwinds are now there, definitely, much more stronger than before. We literally are seeing a very good push, very good growth we are getting, and I think people. It definitely has to do the improvements we have done in our assortment, the relevance of the items, the prices, and the experience. I will not say we are there. There are thousands of problems we still have, and our job is to every day solve one by one. But definitely this experience, and also because more and more people are online, more and more people getting smartphone, more and more people have internet, everybody wants convenience, everybody wants a soft life, and I think there are tailwinds of that, and if we continue manage that growth and do our job, there is no stopping.
If you can share maybe with us an example of something that wasn't there 3 years ago and is there in terms of consumer behavior, in terms of that type of customers that you didn't think you can kind of like target, and now they're regular users, they're using the platform for this specific product item that is now performing super well in Uganda, for example, and you kind of opened that possibility.
I would say we have progressed a lot on electronics category. We very closely monitor the repurchase rate. So a particular customer comes back in how many days on an average, and this number has gone down from 40s late 40s to early 30s. It means earlier customer was coming on the 45th day average. Now they are coming on 32nd day. So that means customer are liking the service and the products and they want to come more frequent. In terms of categories, we have seen a huge growth in electronics, even expensive items. Earlier, we used to sell 120 liters fridges more. Now we sell 170. So it means people have more money, bigger houses. They are looking for bigger fridges, right? The natural trend. And a lot of people buying also 270. I will also give a very basic fundamental. So in Uganda, the highest selling TV is 32-inch. It was the same in Kenya 2 years back. Now Kenya has moved to 43 and now is moving to 50-inch, and Uganda is moving to 43, right? And it shows that people are using e-commerce to go, higher and higher. In general, the disposable income is increasing, and you just need to adapt. And for example, if 43 is the best selling in Kenya, there is no way we cannot be the cheapest on 43. There's no way. I might be okay to have the 85-inch TV price here and there, but 43, Jumia has to be the cheapest in the whole country. And this is how we have to adapt to the consumer needs.
You basically have a very privileged insights into the health of African middle class, basically by seeing how it transitions to larger and larger TV sets,
Yes.
which is fascinating. As a consumer in Accra, I want to access specific products. When I'm back to Italy, I can easily access them maybe on Amazon. When I'm in Ghana, in Accra, no. Or maybe the price is not exactly as convenient as I wanted to. You operate in different markets, here in East Africa, in Kenya and Uganda. What are the variables you put into the equation when you try to understand when to make a product available in a market? And what are the headaches around, different customs regulations in Kenya versus Uganda versus other markets? I really want to know what is the challenge there?
Okay. Look, first factor, as we said, e-commerce is 2 to 5% depending on the category of the total retail. If somebody is buying TVs, Jumia is selling maybe 4 TVs out of 100 every day. Okay. So which gives us an help that offline market is always ahead. Okay. So there is a very strong connection of our key account team. Their job is not only to talk to the vendors and look on the website. Their job is to be on the ground and see what is happening, what people are buying, both in the organized trade, in the likes of Naivas and Carrefour and Quickmart and every other supermarket. Then you go to the general trade, and then you have some Instagram offline. So all this is always in our radar for two things. One, what is selling at what price? And I think what price is way more important than what is selling, but equally very, very important. This helps us understand what consumers are looking for. And if we don't have it, it is super important that we get it very, very fast. In terms of supply, we have some support of our Chinese team. We have a China team of around 50 people. So we are able to source a lot of products directly if they are not available in the country right now. So we can be ahead of the curve sometimes. And then let's say, suddenly there is a vacuum cleaner, or robotic vacuum cleaner, which is becoming popular, and there is only one distributor and it's very expensive. We will contact our China team that this is what we want. So each key account has a direct contact with them, similar mapping in China, and they say, this is what is trending and we need it. And the first time it takes 2 months, and after that, it's very fast for us to get. So that helps us. But yeah, really keeping close eye on offline market, online competition helps us to make sure that we have the products.
And what about those products that I cannot access in the normal retail market, offline?
As a consumer?
Yeah, as a consumer, like, are you targeting those so that you can have that privilege in a sense in a niche, or not at all?
Well, it will be a niche. I think you use the right word. If it is not available in the offline, it is not available online. It happens that we try to get them if we know. For example, we also very closely monitor all the searches across the different webs, including ours. And if people are searching, so all those searches come every 2 weeks in our funnels. And we understand if there are people are searching something which we don't have and offline doesn't have. It is really a big number. We will try to get it. If it is a small number, we go back to priorities.
Okay. And maybe just one last question before asking questions from the public here. Again, on market expansion and the differences between like the different markets, I'm curious to know what level of service do you want to keep standardized across market, let's say. As a consumer in Kenya, as a consumer in Uganda, how can I expect the user experience of ordering through Jumia to be the same, knowing that there are two different ecosystems there? Maybe, fulfillment is managed by other different partners and all that.
Okay. So in across the 9 markets, 90% is standard because all the process is designed on the tech or the other way around, right? But today, the whole tech and the whole major processes, the core processes of delivery, logistics, everything, how many times a package is scanned between pick till the customer delivered and return is absolutely same, because the tech is absolutely same. It's a centralized tech, and hence all the processes are 90% same. Now, the 10% helps you play around with the customer preferences. So, for example, in Kenya, because we have the slightly higher volumes, we are able to reach Mombasa in one day because I can send a decent size of truck every day. In Uganda, can we do that to Jinja? It is not, because Jinja is not giving us that volume, and we do not want to send a very small truck because it's not cost effective to the consumer. That plays at 1 day extra in Uganda versus in Kenya, I can be a faster. But every other process is exactly the same. Your UX, UI, user experience, the whole flow is exactly the same. When you go on the app, and today you are here, and when you go to Accra, you're just going to help change the country, and you will not notice sometimes, unless you see the Ghana currency versus the Kenya shilling currency, you will not even notice that it's a different website. So yeah, I think consumer preferences are inbuilt on the 10%, 90% is same experience.
Amazing. And maybe super last question before opening up to the public. Vinod, what opportunities do you see ahead for your role as CEO of Jumia East Africa that excites you, and what potential challenges that make you like a big concern about the future of e-commerce in the region and of Jumia, of course?
Okay. So what excites, we are talking about the expansion in other markets. It's a continuous topic, to be honest. And we every 6 months we review that there are other markets which are ready. We actually get a lot of push and pull from the regulatories, the governments, etc. that can you enter our market, but we do not want to do Shane Temu types because we want to go properly and give the full service. So that is one which is exciting. Number 2 is building categories. We are very proud of electronics, smartphones, beauty, small appliances, TVs. These categories are decently well developed. Fashion is a category which is really in the midway, and we are trying hard to make it work for all sectors of people. That is also a challenge, that you're able to cater the bottom of the pyramid, but the medium is very tough, and etc. And then lastly, we have some categories which are considered small, like home category. We are really building millions of SKUs can go in home. Then sports, music, fashion, stationery. These are very niche categories. They are by design smaller categories on the continent, but we really want to work it so that if you do not have, actually you have the problem offline on those categories, we should be able to solve them. So I think those category challenges are the new excitement. We also have the problem of the upper middle class, which I think we can tap also. You'll probably fall there. That's why probably you're not buying enough on Jumia. So we are trying to solve it. A lot of people here actually. And for that, actually, by the way, very important news. In next week, we are launching something called Jumia Lux. You don't have to go anywhere. Just on Jumia, you type Jumia Lux. You will find 65 brands already ready. International, regional, well-crafted brands. And directly, the most important is that directly those items are coming from the brands. That is very important, because you might already have the brands. You might have Adidas already. But sometimes where is it coming from is question. Right now, they are coming directly from the distributor. So these kind of challenges help us. We are also launching this week a 4-hour delivery. Every event I used to go, people say, you are slower than social media guys. You are slower than Gigi. You are slower than that. And we said, guys, we're going to come back with that and hold my beer. Now we have 5 million SKUs delivered in 4 hours in Nairobi. It can be a 270-liter fridge, or it can be a pair of socks, anything. So those challenges keeps us, excited. The issues which makes us concerning, mostly outside issues, tax regulations, etc. on digital. I think this industry is at a very, very nascent stage, and we continuously try to work with the policymakers to to, in fact, help it out instead of curbing it way too fast, simply because it's easy, because everything is transparent, everything is online. It's easier to curb this kind of industry than an offline one. Those kind of challenges, but we always there to fight them out.
Sure. That's truly amazing. It started raining on amazing seasonal fruits. We are ready for our new Amiri jeans, Jacquemus bags purchases on Jumia Lux, because that's what we like. Anyway, questions from the public. I know we have one there, we have two there, 3, probably 4. You're gonna say it out loud and then I'm gonna repeat it otherwise. So the first question is, how do you ensure quality that comes out of the distributor, so the quality of the products? And the second question is, what is one of the main challenges you face in penetrating the East African market?
Okay. So let me answer the quality topic in a very honest, brutal way. One, quality is very subjective, right? So that is why we say we give value and we give what customers are looking for. So quality for you, George, and for somebody else for the same thing, depending on the price, can be completely different. Okay. So what we do is, you will have, let's take an example of shoes, non-branded shoe. Okay. You can find the shoe on Jumia at $4 and you can find at $35, still not branded. Okay. Now a $4 shoe for somebody can be poor quality, but for somebody says, okay, in $4 I'm getting a great pair of shoe, right? I think it's very important we never talk about it. The excess, the first topic I told you about, is that, do you want to exclude all the people who cannot afford a pair of shoe less than $7? Do we want to do that? No. So yes, the $4 shoe will be poorer quality, but again, it's very subjective, but it helps us access the people who want to buy those shoes. Very important for us to understand, and we continuously want to do it. How do we control the problems that, okay, it is absolutely bad quality, is through various matrices. And it's a very long, complex topic. I can actually explain the whole thing, but it's going to take probably 2 hours. So we're going to keep it short, because I was a part of the process of building fulfillment operations. And one of the KPIs is called quality return rate. So if I send 100 orders today, how many orders returns? We get around 5 to 6% items returned. Out of this, a lot of items are returned simply because of change of mind, etc., size. There is one option when you return an item is called quality. And there are 2-3 options which gives us an indication of quality. And this goes in the QRR, quality return rate. And any quality return rate on any particular SKU or the vendor, the moment it crosses 0.5%, which means 5 items of 1,000, it raises the first flag, and we delist the SKU for the moment. We work with the vendor and we try to solve it. If it happens again, the SKU is delisted. If it happens third, the vendor is delisted. Before we delist, because it's manual, automatically every time your item is returned as a vendor, because of the quality reason, your algorithm pushes you back because your seller center goes down. So there is a lot of automatic thing happens that if you are as a vendor selling bad quality product, according to the customers, you will be pushed back. You really need to pay a lot of money to come in the front of the consumers. Otherwise, the algorithm will flush you out after the system, or we will blacklist you manually. So this is the system-wise. Then anything which is stored in Jumia warehouse is, if we inbound, let's say TWS earpods, 1,000 of them, there'll be at least 10% sampling checks of those before we inbound them in the warehouse. The ones which are not coming in the warehouse, which are coming directly from the vendors, are also checked with the same percentage in our vendor drop-off areas, unless you are a vendor who has been great and you go in the smart lane, because you also have to manage the speed. So there are a lot of checks and balances. The first part, which I was explaining you, is a big part for us to understand quality perception. The second part really takes care of the bad quality product. Now, the thing is, despite all this, you will have some bad quality products, because it's the system checks is in a lag way. It will delist you after you have done the damage, right? We never knew George as a vendor. You send 10 products, you killed our customer experience. You are blacklisted, but those 10 items will be on social media. The customers are happy. The customer has told 10 people, and we start to hit Jumia. So that is a problem we have. We do not have the option to identify already, at least in our context, unless you go only with the brands, which we cannot do. So I hope I try to answer your question on quality, and we really take it seriously, but we still have some challenges. Accessing different markets. I think it's the focus and the resources you have. I think there are few markets in our region which are already ready, and we want to enter. It depends that every market you're going to reach, you will be burning some cash in the beginning, simply because you need to reach the scale while you need to do investment on day one. Are we in that stage? Can we afford it? Can we do it? All these questions will come into play. Macro level, we just look at the basic fundamentals: the smartphone penetration, data penetration, the mobile money penetration, and the cost of all the three: cost of data, cost of mobile, and cost of smartphones. And once these macros are okay, we are good to go.
Amazing. Maybe just to bounce back on one of the things you said, you were mentioning that sometimes people say the social media people are faster, and kind of taps into the social commerce phenomenon where basically me as a person, I can sell stuff via WhatsApp to you, and you don't have to go on Jumia to order it. I'm curious to know how do you compete with that, and if you compete or you're not actually competing with them.
Well, I think the definition, the way we look at competition is never from our competitor. I think the fastest way I think the beat to competition is to follow the customer. The customer is so painful, so choosy, so demanding that if you just follow the customer runs so fast that if you chase the customers, you will leave the competitors way behind. You don't even have to look at them. So we just do that. We don't look at what other guys are doing. What we look at what customer is asking, and we continuously, and that is why we are ahead. That is why we are able to deliver in 4 hours. That is why we are able to deliver Jumia Lux and everything else. We are very sharp on prices because customers still complain that why 43-inch TV is costing me 21,000, can it be 19,000? While if you go to the factory, even he will sell you at 21,000. So I think for competition is that. Social media, I think instead of competition, we think them as the partner. We actually give them, any social media seller will have a radius of 3 to 5 kilometers. We tell them, you can come on Jumia and the whole 800 kilometer, the whole country is yours. So we'll love to help you. If you do not like our commissions and everything, we have Jumia delivery services. You don't want to be listed on Jumia? Fine. We can actually do logistics for you so that you can grow your business. I think the ecosystem of online business is so small. I don't think we need to really fight it. We just help each other and grow the online business.
Minli, our chief of staff, was asking a very important question. So Jumia has exited some markets. What were the leading indicators that brought to that decision? And have you ever exited a market where you think you're going to eventually re-enter? And what will be the indicators that will inform that coming back to that market?
The market which we want to enter again is... So first of all, in 5 years, I was not part of the lot of decision making why we left the market. So it'll be difficult to comment. And, again, as I said, this is a very complex matrix and sometimes we try to simplify it, but it's not the case. The market we want to try to enter is, for example, is Tanzania. We are looking for it. We are hearing a lot of changes have happened, and it might be interesting to enter that market. So I think, and Tanzania was a market where we were. I cannot comment on why we exited it. It's something we are reviewing it. As I said, it's part of the portfolio. Under East Africa scope, Tanzania is the market we are looking at. Why we are looking at a lot of changes in the macros, and some of the people who know Tanzania's, recently changes in the political system, etc., and growth on the data side, digital side, etc., is working out very well. So that's how we are looking at it. Yeah.
Eddie from Coinbase is asking, you're present in different markets. How do you hedge currency risk in these different markets?
Okay. I don't think I'm the right person. The whole treasury is centrally operated in our legal headquarters in Germany. And I will not do the justice to the answer, so I would not comment on it. But treasury is completely central. I'm sure we have learned our ways in the last decade of how to do it. And I'm quite sure that we are doing a decent job. But if there is something more on the offering, I'm looking at George. You're very excited. So there is hardly any exchange between the African currencies in between. We don't need to do it. The only transaction flows is from dollar to a particular currency and hence back. So if any country which needs funding comes from dollar, gets converted into local currency, any country which starts to make money, repatriates cash, converts into dollars, goes back. So there is no exchange is required.
This is an amazing question, and actually, it touches on something we talked about recently. That before there were a lot of. So just to repeat the question, when we're building payment solution, we have to think about the user, and when we think about the user in African markets, a lot of people love cash and still prefer to use cash. So what is the Jumia's role in fostering also e-commerce adoption and eventually the transition from cash-based transaction to digital, dematerialized transaction, if you will?
Yeah. So the first step, the first segmentation of the customer is that are you a prepaid customer or a postpaid customer? Postpaid is like cash on delivery or payment on delivery. The prepaid customer has no choice but has to use the digital money. Happens still a small percentage, 20% in some markets, 35-40% in some markets. Then the question comes to the remaining 50-60% people who go on payment on delivery. As I was telling you, Yannick, 3 years back, we were accepting cash, hard cash, in all our pickup stations. Of course, there is a risk of collection, leakage, and the lag. All three are bad for the business, right? And we continuously initially pushed the customer, saying that you need to use mobile money instead of this. Okay, so that was a lot of education and push without any reward and penalty, right? And you did it for 2-3 years continuously. Some markets adapted very fast, some are still taking time. And then in some markets, we understood that, okay, the mobile money penetration is above 90%. You can make it a rule. And this is what we did in some markets. Like in Kenya, if you go and you want to say it's not allowed, we might be losing 0.1% of customers simply because they are too rigid and they do not have the option of mobile money. But I think 99.9% it works. So that has been the journey in the last 3-4 years, going from cash, pushing for mobile money, and then really making mobile money mandatory. And so Kenya is at that stage. In some markets, we still accept where the mobile money penetration is less than 95%. We still accept cash, but we are really, really pushing customers because it is also good for them to next time use, and it's easier. Yeah.
Do we have other questions from the audience here?
I think the last one.
The last one. Maybe just the last question. There is no last question. No one from the audience. Amazing. I think, Vinod, thank you very much. We had an amazing conversation, a lot of insights. Good luck for your role as CEO of Jumia East Africa. And we were talking before about the role of Jumia in the ecosystem. You were telling that there is, in fact, a Jumia Mafia. A lot of people who started company, a lot of tech companies want Jumia talent. And so we're happy actually to have you here at the Tech Safari Summit and to see like what role Jumia is going to play next for the ecosystem in general. I think a lot of people are here. You can just start having conversations and stop Vinod for anything you want to ask.
Great. Thank you very much, Yannick. It was a pleasure talking to you. I urge you, because I have the mic, I'll market a little bit. Please shop. Do not give up on e-commerce. Live a soft life. Best prices. Do not wait for Black Friday. Okay, there are a lot of great things already happening. So go ahead.
Jumia
thank
Lax,
you very much.
Jumia Lax for the
Jumia Lax is for you
bags.
guys in 4 hours. Great. Thank you.